crises, which are actually disruptive events that cause loss of life, impact to business, reputational damage, data breach, or any other negative impact, is going to attract media attention. It's going to draw media attention like bees to honey, right? This is a petrochemical plant that blew up somewhere down south, right? I'll try not to use names as far as possible. This one blew up down south. This is the one that you talked about, Mubarak, the Prasanna train. This, I think everybody knows, MH370. By the way, I can't see the comments column in the Zoom, so if there's somebody typing something, please, Mubarak, if you can help me out and let me know. Yeah. And this is one of our ships, MIC ships, that's grounded on the Great Barrier Reef. So my question is, let's just spend some time and talk about these slides. Which of these do you remember well?
The recent train one, and then the MH370 one.
Okay. You remember the train simply because when this incident happened, the first news that was out was from the handphones of people who were on the train. And that was super fast. It was almost instantaneously at that time, right? These pictures were not from reporters. They were from people who were actually on the ground. And to parallel that with organizations, if you have an incident in an airport, the first pictures that are going to go out is the guy who's driving your baggage around, all right? Not some external reporter. The guys who are on the ground filling up your plane with fuel or driving your baggage around, those are the guys who are your new reporters today. They are your new media people, okay? The MH370, you remember it because 249 lives were lost. Big international news incident, right? Sad, very big impact, 249 lives lost and till today not found. Why don't you remember this? Because the impact in terms of loss of life was not really great. I think there was maybe 1 or 2 deaths. Okay, and it was a fire, it was down south, it was in a plant, nothing else happened. Material lost, that's about it. Little bit of news, but not as great as this. And why don't you remember this? When this happened, she was sitting on the Great Barrier Reef, destroying the reef for 1 month, and it was worldwide news. But when this happened, there was no social media. There was only television and the printed press. There was no social media, okay? So all of these are major incidences, but the way they reached out, this was super fast. This had a massive impact due to the loss of life, right? So you need to address media management in different categories, okay? So what other events can affect the organizations that all of you are working in, right? And you need to think really broadly because it may happen, and if it happens, it can destroy your organization. Firstly, anticipate the crisis, and this is something that I've been saying from the beginning of this presentation. The fastest way to recover or to manage media is to have a list of stuff that can happen to your organization. Have a very capable crisis communication team. Select persons from the team for different areas. The one that stands in front of the camera, the one who releases information to the press, the one that talks to the families, are all different. Identify and train the spokesman. Okay, it's not easy. Don't get the shock of having to stand in front of the camera. Practice, 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 and select your spokesman who gives you the right face for the organization, right? The right face for the organization. At the time of a crisis, communication is key. How you get, when you have a problem, let's say you have that explosion in the petrochemical plant, the guy on the ground is going to call his boss and say, oh, we've got this explosion, we've got 1 dead. The boss is going to call the bigger boss, and then the bigger boss is going to go back and say, okay, fix it this way, fix it that way, fix it this way. And where's the communication people? They're all at home watching TV. None of them know the details around the incident, right? So when it happens, you got to keep the communication team in the loop, bring them in straight away, and the system that you have in place must make sure that it's transparent, because the most important thing when you get in front of the press is authenticity. You know what's happening, you know the gravity of the situation. Otherwise, you're going to get caught because the press will get their information from somewhere else and throw at you. This is an example of the key elements that are involved in a communication plan that all organizations need to have ready. So let me touch on just one or two things here. I'm not going to go too much in detail because this will take about a day to go through each one. About this, let's touch on this: develop consensus recommendations. This is in the pre-crisis stage, and as a communications team, you need to sit down with the bosses, with the owners, with the board members, and say, what face or what soul do we want to put out to the public when an incident happens? What is the soul of the company? Is it that we care for the environment? Is it we care for the people? Is it a combination of all this? Because the key messagings at the end of the day will revolve around this. Our people is important. We care for the environment. We are compliant to regulators. Some of the stuff that the mantra of the company that you will stick by. All right? And then from there, you start to develop your entire story or media communication plan and all the other stuff that come with it. So there are a lot of stuff inside here that needs to be looked at and prepared well beforehand.